Which famous monument in Rome was used for gladiator contests? Colosseum. Which ancient civilization built the city of Babylon? Mesopotamian. Which Renaissance artist painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? Michelangelo. Which country was ruled by the Tsars before 1917? Russia. Which ancient culture developed the first known writing system, cuneiform? Sumerians. The Roman Empire fell in which century? Fifth century AD. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was built in which ancient kingdom? Egypt. Who proposed the theory of relativity? Albert Einstein. Which event marked the beginning of World War I? Assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Which major civilization arose in the Indus River Valley? Harappan civilization. What was the name of the ship Charles Darwin sailed on for his famous voyage? HMS Beagle. The fall of the Berlin Wall occurred in which year? 1989. Which queen was the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt? Cleopatra VII. Which famous 13th century explorer wrote about his journey to China? Marco Polo. Who was the first person to orbit the Earth, a Soviet cosmonaut? Yuri Gagarin. Which U.S. president abolished slavery? Abraham Lincoln. Which European power ruled India for nearly 90 years until 1947? Britain. Which major war ended with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles? World War I. Who led the Communist Revolution in China in 1949? Mao Zedong. The Renaissance period is generally considered to have started in which country? Italy. Which European leader famously invaded Russia in 1812? Napoleon Bonaparte. Who was the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? Margaret Thatcher. What was the name of the German Air Force during World War II? Luftwaffe. Which ancient group built the famous road system known as the Appian Way? The Romans. Which European country colonized Brazil? Portugal. What was the major system of government in Europe during the Middle Ages? Feudalism. Which invention by Johannes Gutenberg revolutionized book production? Printing press. What was the period of extreme poverty and starvation in Ireland, 1845 to 1849? Called the Great Famine. What was the name of the powerful dynasty that ruled Egypt for 300 years? Ptolemaic dynasty. In which decade did the Great Depression begin? 1930s. What was the primary goal of the Crusades? Recapture the Holy Land. Who was the famous queen known for her Virgin Queen status in ruling England's Golden Age? Elizabeth I. Who founded the Mongol Empire in the 13th century? Genghis Khan. What was the name of the secret political police in the Soviet Union? KGB. The invention of the steam engine is most closely associated with which historical period? Industrial Revolution. Which ancient city was buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD? Pompeii. The Declaration of Independence, USA, was signed in which year? (1776). Who was the first emperor of Rome? Augustus. What was the main purpose of the Roman aqueducts? Carry water to cities. What was the first major battle of the American Civil War? First Battle of Bull Run. The city of Constantinople was later renamed what? Istanbul. What term is used for the period of French history after the monarchy's fall? French Republic. The American Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 60s aimed to end what? Racial segregation. What famous voyage first circled the globe, led by Ferdinand Magellan? Circumnavigation. Who was the leader of South Africa who ended apartheid and became president? Nelson Mandela. Which ancient Greek philosopher taught Plato and was sentenced to death? Socrates. Which famous naval battle in 1805 solidified British naval supremacy over France? Battle of Trafalgar. Which year did the United States enter World War II? (1941). The invention of the smallpox vaccine is credited to whom? Edward Jenner. Which ancient wonder of the world was located on the island of Rhodes? Colossus of Rhodes. Which war led to France losing all of its territory in mainland North America? Seven Years' War. Which explorer is credited with being the first European to reach America, North America, in 1492? Christopher Columbus. Who wrote the famous historical text, The History of the Peloponnesian War? Thucydides. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of Normandy in World War II? Operation Overlord. The Boxer Rebellion took place in which country? China. What was the official name of East Germany during the Cold War? German Democratic Republic. Which country controlled Vietnam before the division into North and South? France. Which major event in 1929 is known for its disastrous impact on the global economy? Stock market crash. Who was the powerful Ottoman Sultan, known for his legal system and magnificent architecture? Suleiman the Magnificent. What was the term for the widespread trade network connecting the East and West for centuries? Silk Road.
How many questions did you get right? Tell us your score in the comments below. If you enjoyed this quiz, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. Keep your brain active and check out our next quiz video right now.